Alright, let's dive into the chaotic world of Moon Knight. The scene bursts open with a flurry of action. Moon Knight himself is in the forefront, clad in his striking white armor, gripping his staff with a determined intensity. His eyes, hidden behind the cowl, seem to pierce the very air. A newspaper whips around him, headlines screaming, "Moon Knight sighted." Above him, a lithe, tiger-striped figure with fiery red hair crouches on a traffic signal, her eyes narrowed, looking like she's ready to pounce. Her expression is a mix of focus and feral energy. To the left, a figure in a full blue suit, complete with an 8-ball for a head, leaps through the air, a red cue stick held aloft, looking like he's about to smash it on something. Below, 2 men in white coats are caught up in the whirlwind. One of them, a man with light skin and a skull, looks enraged, fists clenched. Next to him, a dark-skinned woman with a determined gaze is also throwing a punch, both caught in a mid-action stance. Papers are swirling all around them, creating a dynamic, almost frenzied feeling. It's clear this is a high-stakes confrontation unfolding in the streets. The scene shifts dramatically. We're now looking at a breathtaking view of Earth, a distant blue marble against the blackness of space. A lone silhouette of a creature, like a dog, streaks past the sun. This impossible city, we're told, is in Earth's orbit, and someone is clearly feeling incredibly uncomfortable. We cut to a close-up. A man with a neatly trimmed goatee, wearing a dark, futuristic-looking armor with red accents, addresses Moon Knight. He says, "Oh, get over yourself. Welcome to the impossible city." Say hello to Moon Knight's city. A Moon Knight, in his flowing white cloak, replies simply, "Hello, Moon Knight." But the armored man continues, "So you and I have taken some pokes at one another over the years. That's the biz. But you stood tall in the blood hunt, so I'd call us square. You and your bony paws saved a lot of lives." He adds, with a smirk, full of surprises, "Aren't you, Marks?" Moon Knight just grunts, a lowren. The armored man is now inspecting something in his hand, a glowing, crystalline orb, he says, including a sample of, well, whatever this is. He looks both perplexed and intrigued. Moon Knight leans in, his gaze fixed on the orb. It's a street drug, Iron Man. Glitter. He pauses, then adds, "I think it's actual fairy dust." The tone in his voice is both serious and a little unsettling. This is definitely not your everyday chat in space. The conversation continues. The armored man, Iron Man, declares, "Look, I'm an engineer, not a biochemist." He's squinting, clearly trying to figure out the science of the glitter. Moon Knight replies, "Sure, I'm a polymath, and yes, that is extremely impressive. But I can't tell you much more than what you already know. This appears to be a highly addictive psychoactive substance with a substrate of extremely exotic matter. Red magic." His tone is serious, bordering on ominous. Iron Man shifts his stance, looking a bit agitated. "As a scientist, I find this stuff confusing. As an addict, I find it terrifying, which is why you came to me and not strange, I'd guess." "Oh," Moon Knight answers calmly. "Yes. You understand addiction. We have that in common." Iron Man sighs. "Well, it's nice to be popular." A small panel shows the two of them standing on a circular platform, with the glowing orb hovering between them. He adds, "Dr. Strange could help you with the magic part, but he's a surgeon, not a chemist." Or Iron Man continues, "Reed Richards is a chemist, but unfortunately for you, the guy you really need to talk to is dead. I need a fix for this." Stark a counteragent. "So, who?" The camera focuses on Iron Man as he answers with a grim expression. "The best biochemist of our generation. Hank Pym." He says the name with a weighty tone, the implication hanging heavily in the air. We're back on the streets. A car screeches to a halt, the sound echoing in the night. Inside, 2 men in black masks are yelling, "They're on our ass." One of them tries to keep the other calm, saying, "Calm down, calm down." The man continues shouting, "This is Moon Knight." The panel shifts focus to the city's skyline. And there they are, Moon Knight, soaring through the air, white cloak billowing behind him, and his ally, also in mid-flight, with a black suit and golden wings. They're framed against a large, glowing moon, which makes the scene feel both mystical and urgent. Then, the perspective switches again, this time to someone wearing a black hazmat suit with glowing green lenses. They seem to be observing the scene and say to themselves with a low tone, "They're after the glitter." The individual pauses before adding, "They don't care about the glitter. They're after you. This is ominous, clearly indicating Moon Knight is not just facing random thugs, but a much more targeted threat. Inside the car, the masked men's conversation reveals more. One of them says, "Moon Knight thinks he can catch you and squeeze you, move up the food chain." The second man replies, "And if he does catch you, you will talk." He adds, "I've tangled with him before. Everything they say about him is true. He's a psycho." We cut to a closer shot of the man in the hazmat suit at the wheel. He says, "So drive. And if he does catch up, then I'll start earning the money that Fairchild's paying me." He grips the steering wheel with a mix of fear and determination. Then we shift perspective again, this time through the car's rear view mirror. It shows Moon Knight gliding down from the night sky, his cloak spread wide. One of the men in the car says, "Yeah, that's why Fairchild sent you with us," before they abruptly exclaim, "Look out." It's clear they've just spotted Moon Knight approaching, and a collision is about to happen. The tension is rising rapidly. The action explodes onto the page. Moon Knight looms large, his white cloak spread wide against a wash of light. The two men in the car yell, "Moon Knight," and run him down. The driver shouts, "We've got him, we've got Moon Knight." The man in the hazmat suit tries to warn them, "No, wait." Suddenly, the scene changes to a series of dynamic close-ups. We see the man in the hazmat suit's glowing green eyes just before the impact, then a blur of action as the 8-ball-headed figure lunges forward, cue stick in hand. He says, "It's a trick." Moon Knight is a blur of white and shadow. Corner. The 8-ball man then executes a sharp turn and aims his cue stick directly at the car's front pocket. The impact is palpable, the tension reaching a boiling point. The page explodes with dynamic action. The car is shown mid-flip, a tangle of metal and shattered glass, surrounded by an orange haze of debris, the word "crash" outlined in a rough, white font. The sheer force of the impact is visually palpable. Below, Moon Knight stands poised, his cape billowing around him, looking almost ethereal in the chaos, ready for his next move. His 8-ball-headed ally is also in motion, the cue stick still clutched in his hand. The orange and black color palette creates a sense of fire and urgency, perfectly capturing the intensity of the moment. The aftermath of the crash is shown in a series of panels. Moon Knight stands over the wreck, his cape flowing behind him in the night air, while the 8-ball man asks, "You think they're still alive?" Moon Knight replies, "Didn't you use to pull that gag when you were a supervillain, 8-ball?" The 8-ball man shrugs with, "Oh man, so many times. Nobody died then, did they?" The car is shown wedged between two buildings, smoke and steam rising. The winged figure, also on the scene, says to the 8-ball man with a bit of sarcasm, "Good hunting, brother 8-ball." The camera angle shows that the winged figure is now climbing out of the wreckage and yells, "No, no." Finally, Moon Knight and his winged ally are standing side by side, looking out over the city. The winged man turns to Moon Knight, and Moon Knight confirms their next move with yes. They are clearly a team, having navigated the immediate crisis and preparing for the next phase of the mission. The scene continues, with the masked figure in the white outfit stating, "Nogue." The figure in the black outfit with a white moon on its forehead says, "Moon Knight. It's been a long time." A figure in a bright orange hazmat suit appears in the background, between Moon Knight and the 8-ball figure. Moon Knight stares at the hazmat-suited figure and says, "I don't know who the hell you're supposed to be." He adds, "I only want Fairchild's guys. Get lost and you'll dodge a beating." The hazmat-suited figure replies with, "You wouldn't recognize me, would you?" There is a close-up of the individual's gloves as they begin to unzip the hazmat suit while saying, "Not dressed like this. Let's get sexy, then." The tension in the scene has been building and a confrontation is imminent. The scene shifts to a stark, almost surreal setting. The background is a vibrant wash of reds and oranges, with abstract buildings reaching up into the sky. In the center, a lone figure walks into the scene wearing a geometric costume with gold and red accents. The figure says, "Let's get weird." This image is a striking departure from the previous panels, with a bold use of color and a sense of unease. The action picks up immediately. The figure, now revealed as a man with a black mask and white moon symbol, yells, "Cubist, brother," and then says his pheromones. Moon Knight responds with, "Well, they do this." The 8-ball man appears on the side, yelling, "Oh Moo." Moon Knight is standing with his fellow hero, While a speech bubble explains, Hunter's Moon, you're going to lose depth perception, balance, and spatial awareness. Moon Knight's companion then says, going implies they aren't already gone, brother. The scene shows the cubist character in a geometric battle stance. He states, I was told to expect you, then quickly adds, damn it, told to give you a message. This is followed by a blurred image of Cubist raising a hand as if to attack, implying the start of a battle. The battle unfolds in a series of quick, impactful panels. Cubist's message becomes clear. In the first panel, he's swinging a weapon and says, here's the first part. The action is quick and brutal, with a crack sound effect indicating the contact. In the next panel, Moon Knight retaliates and makes contact with a hood. The Cubist continues speaking, here's the second. Then, we see a dynamic kick from Moon Knight's winged companion with and the third. Fairchild wants you to know that you've forced his hand. Coming after his business like this. We then see Cubist on the defensive. The next panel shows Moon Knight with his winged companion getting the upper hand on Cubist. Cubist looks defeated as he says, so now. The final panel shows Cubist falling backwards in defeat as he warns Moon Knight, he's going to come after your business. The action here is fast and furious, each panel conveying the force and speed of the fight. The battle continues with Cubist yelling, Brav. Everything after this. Moon Knight is in mid-strike, ready to deliver a powerful blow. Cubist, however, states, you bought and paid for. The scene shifts to Cubist with clenched fist, conveying a sense of impending doom. In the next panel, Cubist says, now, the thought of killing you three did cross my mind, before clarifying. But Fairchild wouldn't like it. A panel shows Moon Knight's ally on the ground while Cubist says, seeing as my guys are gone. In the final panel, Cubist has a hand raised to the sky and warns the other, that, and I'm not so sure that you wouldn't manage to get your hands on me before I broke your skull or punctured a major organ. And I know enough to know that if that happens, I'm dead. The pace and tone have shifted to a more personal exchange, but the threat of violence still hangs heavily. The scene returns to the city streets at night. Moon Knight's winged companion stands next to him while the eight-ball-headed man says, I should be as well. Then a full shot of Moon Knight reveals that he's kneeling, his cape pooling around him. A faint glow emanates from his armor. He says, damn it. The mood has shifted from the chaos of the battle to a moment of contemplation or perhaps frustration for Moon Knight. The scene transitions to a new location, a dimly lit room with several figures present. Moon Knight says, come after our business, to an off-panel individual. Another man, dressed in a white suit, responds, what the hell is that supposed to mean? Moon Knight is now in the room with others, including the tiger-striped woman and a man in a white suit. Moon Knight says, Fairchild's a gangster. That's not what we usually deal with. The man in the white suit says, Zodiac, the tutor, the Spectre, they were all trying to prove something. But this guy, it's all just biz. There's no, what do you call it, philosophy. The tiger-striped woman interjects, it's still magic drugs though, soldier. She then adds, and weird stuff is midnight mission business. The Moon Knight speaks again. He's better organized than Zodiac was, smarter than the tutor was, and doesn't have the obsession that the Black Spectre did. But the Tiger Woman is now speaking to the man in white, saying, even if we stop the supply of glitter, what do we do for the people who are hooked on it? There is tension building as the heroes debate their next move. The conversation continues with Moon Knight's winged ally stating, a salient point, Tigra. He continues with, brother, were the Avengers of any help? Moon Knight replies, no. I was hoping Stark could synthesize us an agonist compound to help counteract the addiction, but he couldn't figure it out. Moon Knight speaks again, not with the mix of chemistry and magic that we're dealing with. Fairchild is working both sides of the blade. His gang's the only game in town for glitter. He's got total exclusivity. Moon Knight then says, which means he controls the market and, by extension, anyone addicted to glitter. He pauses and continues, but that also means that if we take Fairchild off the board, burn his operation down, then that's it. The tiger-striped woman interjects, it's all over but for picking up the pieces. The man in the white suit responds, the pieces being people, let's remember that, followed by, and we're not off to a great start. The man in white speaks again, saying, "I'll admit it, we got outmaneuvered." To which Moon Knight replies, But we got good intel as well, Fairchild's digging into my rogues gallery." The man in white replies with, "Rogues gallery?" Moon Knight finishes, "It's an industry term, shut up." There is a clear sense of urgency and strategic planning happening. Moon Knight says he thinks that'll give him an edge, using guys like Cubist, guys who know me. But the only thing they all have in common is that they've tried to kill me before. And I'm still here. He is looking determined, his armor is glowing slightly with a blue hue. He then says, "Okay, sun'll be up soon. Let's break for tonight." Moon Knight is shown with a gun. In a separate panel, the Winge companion is shown saying "you," while the Tiger Woman asks, "You okay?" Moon Knight says, "Yeah, didn't take too bad a beating." The Tiger Woman replies with, "But." Moon Knight's gaze is downcast and says, "What do you mean, but?" The Tiger Woman states, "I know you, Mark. You've got 'but' written all over you." In the final panel, Moon Knight's head is down and says to himself, "There's something I need to tell you. I have needed to tell you since I came back." This panel indicates an internal conflict or confession that is about to come forth. The scene is intimate and emotional. The Tiger Woman is touching Moon Knight's face and says, "Mark, you saved me." He responds, "I'm not talking about." The scene then moves to a view of a truck driving along a road at night with the line, "I'm not talking about how you brought me back after I died." The Tiger Woman is shown again, as Moon Knight says, "I'm talking about before." His tone is heavy. We see a close-up of Moon Knight without his mask, looking vulnerable as he continues, "You saved me. Your support, your friendship, your love." A final panel shows a close-up of Moon Knight's lower legs as he states, "I'd never have been able to move forward without it." The scene closes on a deeply personal note, highlighting the relationships and struggles that drive the story. The conversation deepens as the tiger-striped woman says, "Mark, you're getting me worried here." Moon Knight has a somber expression as he responds with, "Just before I died, Janet Van Dyne and Vic Shade came here about Oddball's murder." But the tiger-striped woman looks at him intensely, saying, "Yeah, I remember. You said it was nothing." A close-up of her gloved hand touching Moon Knight's arm follows. Moon Knight then explains, "I told you that because we were about to attack the Black Spectre and his mob. Because if you knew what I really saw, you'd be off your game." A panel shows a police raid happening at night with officers advancing with their guns raised. The woman then says, "And I was afraid that it would get you killed." In the final panel, she is looking straight at Moon Knight. She says, "Mark, tell me." Her tone is now insistent and worried, the tension building to the climax of their conversation. Moon Knight continues, his voice heavy, "And then I died. But now." The scene shows police in riot gear at night. A speech bubble emerges saying, "Listen, Greer, Iron Man told me that there's only one person who could treat glitter addicts, one person who could figure it out, but that he was dead." The Tiger Woman says, "Mark, you need to tell me what this is about. Right now. No more dancing around it." Moon Knight is shown looking serious and troubled and states, "He's not dead." The Tiger Woman looks at Moon Knight directly and with shock replies, "He's alive." Moon Knight continues, "That's what I found out the night I went to help Janet and Shade. That's what I should have told you, what I haven't been able to tell you." The Tiger Woman replies, "You loved him. You called him your kid's father." The conversation has reached a critical moment, revealing a deep personal secret. The final page is a dramatic cliffhanger. A blonde police officer stands in the foreground with several riot police behind her. A giant skull, rendered in fiery oranges and blacks, looms above them. A speech bubble simply says, "Hank Pym is alive." The scene is both menacing and filled with suspense. The page ends with the words, "To be continued." This final panel leaves the audience with a sense of dread and anticipation for what comes next. Thanks for tuning in. Stay curious, stay awesome, and don't forget to hit that subscribe button for more amazing content.